Welcome to another video. Today is going to be episode 2 of my Roman Empire series. This episode is about the Legacy of God series by Rina Kent. It is one of my favorite dark romance series, with the last book coming out next month in June. I wanted to feature this series because I personally love it. It is one of my favorite series. Yes, I like a couple books better than others, but let's dig into it. I do have all the books in the series and I have already pre-ordered God of War. Again, this is one of my favorite series. It's not too dark, not too violent. It is for my lovers of dark romance, but not super dark to the point where it's something that's very traumatic and you can't read. As a dark romance girly, I do think this series is a good in-between, right? Like, not for super seasoned dark romance readers and not for my super beginners. I do think it's right in the middle. I have read darker than this, but it is still a good read. I did like some books better than the others, so let's get into it. Before I dive into the books, this is a second generation series. So Rina Kent is a very popular dark romance writer. She writes mafia books. So this is her second generation of characters. She does have the parents' books and stories that come before this series. If you guys want to dig into that before, Rina has an entire backlog. There is a reading order on her website. I suggest following that. I have read all of her previous books, and that is why I think now I love Legacy of Gods, because I know the parents' backstory. I know who she's talking about when a character comes into the book. So I personally love them because I read her previous books and I know who's who. I know whose parent is who and what's the story behind their relationship. So let's get into it. Book 1 starts with God of Malice. This is Killian Carson and Gwendolyn King's story. This book starts off hot. It starts off at a cliff scene. That cliff scene got me hooked. It got me wanting to read more of the book. I'll read a little bit of the back. It says, I caught the attention of a monster. I didn't ask for it, didn't even see it come in, but the moment I do, it's too late. Killian Carson is a predator wrapped in a sophisticated charm. He's cold-blooded, manipulative, and savage. The worst part is that no one sees his devil side. I do, and that will cost me everything. I run, but the thing about monsters is that they always chase. I really liked God of Malice. I thought it was a great starter to the series. This is where you meet all of the other characters that are going to be in their own books. It is an interconnected world. They're all a group of friends that are going to do two different rival colleges. So they are mortal enemies. There is the American University and the British University. And these universities are known for having like mafia kid students. So book 1, God of Malice, I loved it. It wasn't my favorite, but it was still a really great read. The first scene sucked me in and I couldn't put it down. Book 2 in the series is God of Pain, and I'm gonna be honest, this is my least favorite book of the entire series, just because I do feel like it was a little bit slow. There wasn't much going on. There was a little bit of tension. There wasn't that much going on. This book follows Creighton and Annika's story and how they become a couple. Creighton is known to be an underground fighter. He is very selective. He is very selective with who he talks to, so he's very shy, very quiet. And along the story, you do see him get to open up to Annika. But again, I feel like this was my least favorite book. Was a little slow. There wasn't that much going on. I wasn't that invested in their story. Let me read the back. So it says, being a mafia princess, I knew my fate was already decided, but when I went ahead and longed for the wrong one. Creighton King is bad news with a gorgeous exterior. He's silent, brooding, and obviously emotionally unavailable. So I thought it's over, until he awakens a beast inside me. My name is Annika Volkov, and I'm Creighton's worst enemy. He won't stop until he breaks me or I break him. So Creighton is very silent. He's broody. He doesn't really like talking to anyone. And this follows their story. Again, this was my least favorite book out of the series. The next book in the series is God of Wrath. This is tied to be my favorite along with God of Fury. Jeremy Volkov he is so delicious. I love him. This was my most favorite until God of Fury came along. But I I'm still on my knees for Jeremy Volkov. God of Wrath follows Jeremy and Cicely's story. There is primal play in here. There is stalking. He rides a motorcycle. There's chasing through the woods. This book had me hooked, had me engaged, had me foaming at the mouth for Jeremy. Like, out of all of them, I think he's my favorite. I don't want to say it, but I think he's my favorite. I could not get enough of this book. This is tied with God of Fury for being my favorite. I cannot say enough good things about God of Wrath. The spice in here is really well written. Rina really knows how to write spice very well. I could not put this book down. I was blushing, I was hot, I was sweaty. I love this book so much. This is my fave. This is tied with God of Fury as being my favorite. God of Wrath, Jeremy Volkov. He is one of my top book boyfriends. So let's read the back. It says, I'm trapped by the devil. What started as an innocent mistake turned into actual hell. In my defense, I didn't mean to get involved with a mafia prince. He barged through my defenses anyways. He stalked me from the shadows and stole me from the life I know. Jeremy Volkov might appear charming, but a true predator lurks inside. He's out to possess, own, and keep me, but I have no plans to stick around in his blood-soaked world, or I think. Okay. Like, it's just so good. It's so good. He is a mafia prince. He comes from the mafia world. This book was so good. I love them. They're my favorite couple, apart from Brandon and Nikolai from God of Fury. Nothing else to say. One of my favorites until God of Fury came along. I really liked this book. I was pleasantly surprised by how much I ended up liking Landon at the end, because in the beginning he was a total a-hole, total d-bag. So pleasantly surprised. I really liked this book. So let's read the back. It says, after careful planning, I gave the man who messed with my family a taste of his own medicine. I thought it'd end there, but it didn't. Landon King is a genius artist, a posh rich boy, and my worst nightmare. He's decided that I was the new addition to his chess game. Too bad for him, I'm no pawn. If he hits, I hit back twice as hard and with the same hostility. He says he'll ruin me. Little does he know that ruination goes both ways. God of Ruin. This follows Landon and Mia's story, and what I like is that Mia is a bad bitch. She does not let herself get taken advantage of. She stands up for herself and her family. She may be quiet, but she can take it and she can dish it. I really like this book. I really like the growth that Landon had throughout his relationship with Mia, just because he grew and turned into, he kind of learned about emotions and kind of grew into what she needed him to be. And I loved that relationship, that he is all about her. He wanted to change for her and be what he needed her to be. Yes. Book 5 in the Legacy of God series is God of Fury, and I did not think I was gonna like this book as much as I did, but I completely fell in love. This was the first romance that I ever read, and it has set my standards so high for reading an romance. I listened to this on audio and I was completely, all my flabbers had been gassed. I'm just gonna say that because it was so good. The audio narrators did an amazing job kind of bringing these characters to life. And this follows Nikolai and Brandon King's story, and how they kind of fight that pull that they're feeling towards each other. This book is toxic, it's chaotic, it is heartwarming, it is heartfelt. There are mentions of suicidal thoughts, so please check your trigger warnings. But this, God of Fury, tied with God of Wrath for being my favorite in the series. I honestly don't think I can pick one over the other. This book and God of Wrath are perfection to me. This book though, God of Fury, it puts you together, tears you apart just to put you back together in the end. I cried, I laughed, I was blushing. The spice in here was definitely given. It was definitely giving everything it needed to give. If you guys have the chance to listen to this on audio, check Hoopla, check Libby, check Audible. The audiobook is 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. This book is, like I said, tied with God of Wrath for being my favorite. And I honestly think about Nikolai and Brandon every single day. They live in my head rent free. Their relationship is something so special, and I eventually do want to get a tattoo that kind of is dedicated to this book, just because it deals with mentions of depression and again suicidal thoughts. So please check your trigger warnings, but it's just something that I hold near and dear to my heart. So this book I could not recommend enough. If you don't read any of the books, read this one even more than God of Wrath. This one was amazing. I could not say its praises enough. For my first romance, I've read others and nothing holds a candle to God of Fury. Nikolai and Brandon, they're perfection. They're my babies. I love Nikolai's sarcastic personality. I'm super sarcastic myself, so I was laughing the whole time and then I was crying. 10 out of 10. I cannot recommend it enough. You need to read it. Please check out the audio version if you're able to. So good. And that is the Legacy of God series, at least until God of War comes out next month. That cover is going to be pink, so I am so excited to be able to complete my collection of this series. I personally love this series because I have read Rina's backlog, so I know the stories of their parents, and just to see the children come to life and to find out that they're as crazy as their parents is giving me life. I cannot wait for a book. I cannot wait next month for the last and final book of the Legacy of God series. If you like dark romance, if you like a little bit of possessive a-holes, if you like narcissism, if you like walking red flags, all of these men are going to give it to you. This series is one of my favorites. I will stand by that. I will accept no slander. I just personally really, really enjoyed the series. Did I like some more than others? Yes. Would I recommend it to you? Yes. If I could recommend one book to you, it would be God of Fury. God of Fury, I think, is a must read. Out of the whole series, this has kind of been tied with God of Wrath, but if you were only going to read one book out of the series, God of Fury is that book to read. So thank you guys for joining me on episode 2 of my Roman Empire series. I hope you guys check Legacy of God series out. Let me know in the comments if you read it before. Let me know what book was your favorite. Thank you guys for joining me. I'll talk to you later. Bye.